On the 10th day of the first month of the second year of the Dan-no-ura, Yoshitsune paid a visit to the cloistered emperor. The Heike have been forsaken by heaven and by the imperial family. Driven from the capital, they are now fugitives, no more than exiles drifting upon the waves. It is my great regret that they were not completely destroyed, and this time I, Yoshitsune, am determined to follow them anywhere until I succeed in annihilating them. The cloistered emperor was deeply impressed and said, "Make your war plans with great care. Fight well and fight to win." So, now the two hosts of the Genji and the Heike faced each other scarcely 30 cho distant on the water. And as the tide was running strongly through the Dan-no-ura, the Heike ships were carried down by the current against their will, while the Genji were naturally able to advance on them with the tide. Hague, with his sons and retainers, struck close to the shore, and catching on to the Heike ships that went astray, they boarded them and sprang from one ship to the other, cutting their men down both at bow and stern and doing great deeds. Thus both armies joined battle all along the line, and the roar of their war cries was such to be heard even in the highest heavens of Brahma. Then Tomomori, coming onto the 10th house of his ship, shouted to his men in a mighty voice, "Even with the most renowned leader and the bravest warriors, an army cannot prevail if fate be against it. Yet must our honor be dear to us, and we must show a bold front to these Genji soldiers. Let us then pay no heed to our lives and think of nothing but fighting as bravely as we may." For this, both sides set their faces against each other and fought grimly without a thought for their lives, neither giving an inch. But as the Heike had on their side the emperor endowed with the 10 virtues and the 3 sacred treasures of the realm, things went hard for the Genji, and their hearts were beginning to fail them, when suddenly something that they at first took for a white cloud, but which soon appeared to be a white banner floating in the breeze, came drifting over the 2 fleets by the upper air and finally settled on the stern of one of the Genji ships, hanging on by a rope. When he saw this, Yoshitsune, regarding it as a sign from the god Haichiman Daibosatu Satsu, removed his helmet and after washing his hands, did obeisance, his men all following his example. Then a shoal of thousands of dolphins appeared and made for the ships. Munimori called the diviner Harunugu and asked, "What does it portend?" "If they turn back," replied Harunugu, "the Genji will be destroyed, but if they go on, then our side will be in danger." No sooner had he finished speaking than the dolphins dived under the Heike ships and passed on. Then as things had come to this pass, Shigeyoshi, who for 3 years had been a loyal supporter of the Heike, now that his own son Noriyoshi had been captured, made up his mind that all was lost and suddenly forsook his allegiance and deserted to the enemy. Now the strategy of the Heike had been to put the stoutest warriors on the ordinary fighting ships and the inferior soldiers on the big ships of Chinese build, so that the Genji should be induced to attack the big ships, thinking that the commanders were on board them, and they, the Heike, would then surround and destroy them. But when Shigeyoshi went over and joined the Genji, he revealed the plan. So the Genji immediately left the big ships alone and concentrated their attacks on the smaller ships of the Heike champions. Later on, the men of Shikarayu and Kyushu all left the Heike and went over to the Genji. Those who had so far been their faithful retainers now turned their bows against their lords and drew their swords against their own masters. And the Ni-dono, who had already resolved what she would do, donning a double outer dress of dark gray morning color and tucking up the long skirts of her glossy silk takama, put the sacred jewel under her arm and the sacred sword in her girdle, and taking the emperor in her arms, spoke thus: Though I am but a woman, I will not fall into the hands of the foe, but will accompany our sovereign Lord. Let those of you who will follow me. And she glided softly to the gunwale of the vessel. The emperor was 8 years old that year, and his appearance was so lovely that he shed as if it were a brilliant radiance about him, and his long black hair hung loose far down his back. With a look of surprise and anxiety on his face, he inquired, "Where is it that you are going to take me?" Turning to her youthful sovereign with tears streaming down her cheeks, she answered, "Perchance our Lord does not know that, through the merit of the 10 virtues practiced in former lives, you have been reborn to the imperial throne in this world, yet by the power of some evil karma, destiny now claims you. There is a world of happiness beneath the waves, another capital where no sorrow is. Thither it is that I am taking our Lord." And thus comforting him, she bound his long hair up in his dove-colored robe, and blinded with tears, the child sovereign put his beautiful little hands together, and turned first to the east to say farewell to the deity of eyes, and then to the west, and repeated the Nembutsu, after which the Ni-dono, holding him tightly in her arms, sank with him beneath the waves. Ah, the pity of it, that the gust of the spring wind of impermanence should so suddenly sweep away his flower form, that the cruel billows should thus engulf his jeweled person. And now the whole sea was red with the banners and insignia that they tore away and cut away, so that it looked like the waters of the Tatsugagawa, when it was flecked with the maple leaves that the wind brings down in autumn, while the white breakers that rolled up on the beach were dyed a scarlet color. The deserted empty ships rocked mournfully on the waves, driven aimlessly hither and thither by the wind and tide. Ceaselessly the river flows, and yet the water is never the same, while in the still pool the shifting foam gathers and is gone, never staying for a moment. Even so is man and his world.